Hello, welcome back. Going along on our cybersecurity journey, today we're going to talk about pickerel. And no, I'm not talking about the fish. I'm talking about the SANS incident response cycle, or pickerel. Preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. Yes, I know it's spelled different than the fish pickerel, but I say it the same way. And it is basically just that. It is preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. SANS does a really great job of breaking this out for us, and it's important for you to be aware of it. Number one, you'll see it on certification tests like CISSP possibly, or CEH, or any SANS test. We'll talk about this. Um, Security Plus may have a section on this. And we'll go over two other ones that are available out there briefly later on here in the video so that you have an idea of what is available out there. And some tests do distinguish between these different methodologies, but overall they're the same. They deal with the same things, and that's what you need to keep in mind. So as we go through the incident response life cycle, or pickerel, there's a picture of the fish, the pickerel. Um, this is a structured six-phase framework that is designed to keep an incident from being the chaotic mess that it sadly usually is. It gives you a nice system to prepare for an incident. So we take the six phases, we can break them into three objectives. One is active readiness, which is your first two phases, preparation and identification. Uh, the second phase, or the second objective, is threat control, where you take in the phases of containment and eradication. And then finally, the objective of optimization, and that is the two phases of recovery and lessons learned. Um, all three objectives are met by Pickerel. So if you're running a business or thinking about setting up an incident response process, this is a great place to start, um, to allow you to be able to begin to set this up, even if you have to do it on your own. I would recommend consulting with somebody to help you design and lay this out rather than trying to do it on your own, especially someone that has experience in incident response. So, phase one is preparation. This is before the attack even begins. Vitally important and often neglected. Um, True resilience is forged during peacetime, is a phrase the military likes to use, and they are not wrong. If you are not getting ready for an attack, then you are just outright wrong, because everybody is a target in the world today. Whether you're a small business with just one office, or whether you're a medium sized business with 5 to 10 offices, or a major corporation, you are a target of attack. And this preparation phase gives you that security baseline to help you respond and survive major compromises. This is getting your EDR in place, your SIM set up. This is setting up playbooks for handling different events like malware or ransomware or insider threat. Pick your topic. You should have a playbook for it. The CISA, um, security team for the federal government, just found out they didn't have a playbook in the middle of an incident. Not a good look. Probably we'll do a video on that later. But you need to have playbooks in place. Make sure you have alternative bands of communication. Your email could be down. Even cell phones could be down or compromised. Thinking way back in the day to when Sony was attacked, they lost everything and ended up going to their supply closet and breaking out their old cell phones, their old Blackberries, and reissuing them in order to be able to communicate in the middle of an incident. So you need to make sure that you're ready. The rigorous desktop exercises, those are also known as tabletops. I love tabletops. They are a fantastic way to prepare for an incident. They're inexpensive. Basically, most of the ones that I've done in person, you buy lunch for the participants, and that's pretty much your cost, plus, whoever your consultant is to come in and run the tabletop for you. But it's a great way to do it. And you do need to involve your executive leadership. Without any buy-in, a security program is dead in the water. So your board of directors, your executive leadership, they all have to be involved with this in order to run properly. But that's preparation. Then you have identification, and this says high fidelity identification. It's identification. Look back at my prior video on events versus incidents, um, and how to make a distinguishment between them is important here. That's your signal versus noise triage. Um, but you need to know what indicators of compromise are, which ones may affect your network. Many companies, even in today's world in the 21st century, aren't using threat intelligence, um, which is sad because it could really help protect your network. And it also helps you map out the blast radius. In other words, you know what your network is. You know where your sensitive data is stored. You know what file shares are out there. You know who should be accessing them and who shouldn't. Don't mind the cuckoo clock in the background. That's kind of one of my little foibles, and you'll hear him on many of my videos. But he's a pleasant reminder of time passing throughout the day. But making sure that you know your own network is vitally important. I've been on some incidents where the attacker probably knew the internal network better than the internal networking team, and that is not a good thing. Containment, very important. You have to be able to stop the attacker. And you also need to be able to gather evidence in the middle of all of this. Insurance companies that get involved with incident response will often bring in their own teams for forensics. Um, that will help you identify patient zero, to the attack vector, what data may have been accessed, if any exfiltration occurred. All of that is vitally important. Are your backups safe? Do you have them online, stored offsite, or do you have them locally based? And if they're local, were the attackers able to access them and infect them? Vital a question to ask. Um, I've dealt with a couple of companies. Now, I live in a mostly rural area. They still use tape backups, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Fact of anything, it's kind of security by obscurity. Once that tape is pulled from the tape machine and set aside, it's safe. Nobody's going to be able to get to it at that point. But do you even know where your backups are? And for containment, that's vitally important as well. You don't want the attackers to get to the backups. And you have eradication. So here you're going through your systems, identifying what the attackers did, what tools they used, what services they used, looking for backdoors, looking for scheduled tasks, looking at registry run keys, trying to identify where the attacker would have inserted themselves into your network in order to be able to get back in or do their malicious activity, and deleting them, getting them out of your network. That's extremely important as well. And you can use the information gathered here as indicators of compromise to update your EDR, update your SIM, update your SOC analyst so they know what they're looking for if it pops up again. And recovery. So here, validate your backups, make sure they're right. Extremely important. Resetting passwords across the enterprise, extremely important. A little anecdotal story here, I'll keep it brief. We were working in an intruder case where the company had an EDR in place. We were in the EDR while the attacker was in the network. We were knocking them down. It was like whack-a-mole. They'd show up here, we'd whack them down. They'd show up there, we'd whack them down. About 3 o'clock in the morning, it looked all clear. We had told the system admin to initiate a corporate-wide password reset. That system admin did not reset his own password. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, the attackers came back in, used his password, shut down the EDR, and ransomwared the entire network. Password resets are vital for recovery. Restoration, getting your host built back up, restoring your servers, restoring your Active Directory. All of these are things that happen during this period of time. And then setting up at least 30 days of monitoring after an attack. Um, very, very important because attackers will come back. Make no mistake about it, they will come back. One incident that I worked, we thought we'd eradicated them. I got a call an hour later. They were back in the network, went back. Sure enough, there they were. They had actually set up a scheduled task to allow them to get back in, which we did not identify in the beginning, to be honest. But once we shut it down, they were done. They didn't come back. So some of these attackers will come back. So you need to make sure that you are watching for that as well. Finally, lessons learned. Never let a crisis go to waste. This is extremely important, but again, ignored. Preparation is ignored, and lessons learned are ignored. Either end of the blueprint here gets ignored. And in the real world, it's a recipe for disaster. You can't let lessons learned just fall by the wayside. You need to set the entire team down, review the incident, review what happened, review the corrective measures made, and then ensure those corrective measures are ongoing. Rewrite your incident response plan, update your playbooks, update your indicators of compromise. All of those things should flow out of the lessons learned. That way, you have a blueprint for moving forward. And with AI now becoming more and more involved in cyber attacks, it's vitally important that you update your plans also to include that. If you're not prepared, meantime to detect an attack, running around approximately 180 days, give or take. If you have an active retainer and you've taken preparation steps, you're looking at about 4 hours. Big difference. Meantime to contain, if you're not prepared, up to 21 days. I've been on some cases, it was over a month. It took to be able to not only contain, but also restore the network because the attackers were still within the environment, and it took over a month in order to eradicate everything that was going on. However, if you're prepared, you're looking at maybe 2 hours roughly in order to contain an attack, especially if you have EDR updated and running on your systems. Extremely important in the real world to make sure that you're doing these things. Now, there are different frameworks, like I mentioned back at the beginning of this video. So you have SANS, which is Pickerel. You have NIST, the 800 series, and you have ISO, which also has a standard for this. And you can tell by looking at this, basically just the names change, and some phases are combined differently. So you need to be aware of all three of these if you're taking a certification test. And you may also need to be aware of what your business responsibility is because it's different between financial and medical and different areas like that. They want to see different things. So make sure you do your research and are aware that these different formats are out there. We focused on Pickerel in this video, but these other ones are out there as well and available. Make sure you're ready. Just make sure you're ready. If you're preparing for a test, I hope this helps. Get your certification. Somebody one time told me, because I do training locally here at a local college and also privately, that I'm actually training my competition, and I'm fine with that because I'm not going to be doing this forever. And we need people that are able to apply security methodology in the modern world. So have a great day. This is Queen City Cyber Consulting signing off. Enjoy.